Well, hello, students, and welcome to Friday. In this particular section, okay, we are going to concentrate, leaving off where, taking over where we left off on Wednesday. We're talking about stress. And yes, stress has become an important issue in so many types of settings. And I kind of explained a little bit about the challenges of stress in the on Wednesday's lecture. But stress usually occurs, as the book says, when a situation poses challenges that exceed an individual's ability to deal with those challenges. So there are stresses. Okay? These are things that contribute to stress. And we talked about that again on Wednesday, but I want you to take a minute and think about how some of the transitioning to online learning has affected your life, but not just on the school element, but on your personal lives and how you do things, how you're making money if you have jobs. How did it change your schedules? Um, how does it change the way we communicate with one another on the outside? And obviously, our ability to be able to go to um, certain freedoms that we enjoyed, like shopping malls or even getting a haircut or going out with friends, going to movies, going to ball games. Um, Life has just changed around. And think about all of this going on in an organization right now. What is the culture of the organization from where it was to, in less than 2 months, where it is now? So, as your book says, these are stresses. And we have psychologists and psychiatrists and so many people telling us how to alleviate stress. But most of all, this is a time when we need good leaders. There is a lot of job insecurity out there right now, and people losing their jobs by the millions. And one thing dominoes over another. How are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to go shopping? How are we going to feed our families? And all of these things contribute to some very stressful experiences. So, your book talks about two different types of stress: hindrance stress and challenge stress. Hindrance stress is really kind of the more difficult one. That limits our ability to perform. In other words, what do we mean by that? That limits our ability to do what we usually do, and that's what I'm just talking about. What our expectations are in our everyday lives. But think of what that's like for a small business owner today. Okay, if they don't make money, they go out of business. But not only that, they don't have income. And if you're an established business, how long can you stay without being having to lay off people or being able to, unless being able to really function adequately, unless you're able to turn the dynamic around and go to the drawing board, that innovation and creativity, all of these things come together right now. How can we stay afloat despite turbulent times? So that's hindrance stress. Now we get challenge stress. And maybe we got both right now. Once we come out of denial that this is all happening with this pandemic, now we come into challenge stress. And that does improve a person's ability to learn, grow, and perform. And as your book states, we learn from what we've experienced. We grow what really is challenging us right now. It makes us stronger, and also what we've learned over the short term, we bring over to the long term. But as your book states, too much stress can lead to exhaustion. And then we have different types of people that have to deal with stress, type A and type B. And this relates more to different types of personalities. So, those that are typically and categorically in type A, they look for things that they're very, very high achievers and they're very analytical about getting things done. And they are by nature extremely competitive. And everything is on a timeline. You'll often see them looking at their watches. They map out where they need to go and they will do whatever they need to do to get there. So being high achievers and very competitive, these are the types of people that usually are leading organizations or they're in very comprehensive types of environments that require a lot of analytical skill. Um, they usually um, they require more urgency than type B. Type B people are more laid back and they more take things in stride. Now, type A people tend to be, um, well, the book says more irritable at work when dealing with others. So some could say, well, they're rude and obnoxious, and other people could say, well, they're just focused and they need to get things done. And but the problem with that is that these types of individuals experience more stress than anybody else. They usually are the people that stay awake at night. They can't sleep because they're thinking about, well, what they should have done or what they need to do. So, categorically, type A and type Bs are, by research, they are as they are, and sometimes you try to change people. You say, well, slow down, relax a little bit, don't be so uptight about things. But it's in their genes, it's in their DNA, it's in their nature. That's the way these people are. But in an organization, we have to deal with these types of individuals, both type A and type B. And how do we get them to work together, get them under one roof, so that they truly understand that in order for things to work in a company, you need to be able to be collaborative and understand that one environment is as conducive and is um, relative to another as far as achieving organizational goals strategically and comprehensively. So the next thing is, well, how do we overcome stress? Uh, so many ways to overcome stress. And there is social support. Some people see analysts, some people go on long walks, some people work out, they go to the gym, some people go to movies, some people just distract. Um, when stress gets too high, um, some just go in a corner and work things out. They read a book. Um, some use these things, these little sand things you press or roll it around, just keeping yourself occupied and busy. but everybody experiences stress. But it's good to have, no matter what type of job you have or where you are, it's always good to have emotional support. People who really care, be surrounded by people who understand you, and honestly, um, individuals who can help you through stressful times, as we're going through now. This social distancing is very difficult for so many people, but it's necessary for sustaining our existence. It's necessary for caring about the next person, and it's necessary to also draw support for those that are working so hard to keep us all in the loop. And like I said earlier, it certainly makes us a lot stronger. So, in conclusion, um, learning objective 6, we want to apply concepts of change, innovation, creativity, and stress to organizations, as it says. Organizations that need to change, whether that change be planned or unplanned, whether it comes all of a sudden or it happens in stages, which we've already discussed. It involves looking at your strategy and being able to modify it to accommodate the needs of your culture. We need to process not what the outcome should have been, but what the outcome is going to be. In times of stress, we need innovation and we need creativity. We need strong leaders that help us go in the right direction, especially when we see catastrophic situations occurring. And a lot of people will resist change. They're going to deny that it's needed. But in the long run, they have to suffer the consequences of ignoring the changes that are necessary. In any organization, it is very common, especially when your boss says, we got to do things differently. In order for us to stay afloat and be competitive, we got to be able to go back to the drawing board. Sometimes we need to do it more rapidly than others. But remember one thing about change and innovation, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes not. It strengthens the organization. It allows understanding and comprehension of how people need to be able to understand their role in the organization, whether we consider that role to be insignificant or not. Whether you're running the company or you're sweeping the floor, you're part of that group, and you're proud to be a part of that group. And someone that comes up with a great idea could be the person that's emptying the trash. Are you going to ignore it just because they don't have a high position in the company? Or are you going to say, geez, I never thought of that, but somebody did, and somebody made a difference. Now we're winding up this section. We only have one more week after this, and then we go into finals. And I believe for this class, the final is on May the 6th. But what I'm going to do is when I begin next week, I'm going to release the final so you could start working on it. But I'm looking for quality stuff, guys. I want you to keep up with the DQs, just as if you were in class. We're all going through some really tough stuff right now. And I've been on the planet a lot longer than you. I've never seen anything like this. But it doesn't mean we have to shun away from it. What it means is we can be better and stronger than we ever were because we can overcome all types of resistance. We can come up with new and creative and innovative ideas to help improve our environment, which is so badly needed in so many ways. Although this is a catastrophic event that has happened with COVID-19, the planet environmentally is healing in so many ways. The planet is glutted with oil right now, largely because there is no demand and a lot of supply. And most of it was because our eastern neighbors were fighting or disagreeing on one another on production. And as a result, everything is glutted and no one needs it. I talked to you guys about the cork in the bottle, remember? And I said, if the cork was on the bottle after you drank the wine, or whatever you drank in the bottle, it's worth whatever that wine was worth. But after you drank the wine and you threw the cork away, it's worth nothing. But if you're in the middle of the ocean and you need that cork to plug a hole in your boat, that cork is worth everything. There's no price tag. What's worth everything right now is exactly what this section is talking about. It's talking about change and innovation and creativity and the stress that comes along with it. We can weather this storm, Professor DeChico.